Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Alia Nur Hanifah from 5D. Today I would like to tell you about interpreting for the mice industry. These are the material that I will explain that are interpreting and the mice industry. What is interpreting? Interpreting is known as one of the most popular branch of translation studies. The basic difference of translation and interpreting is that translation refers to written practice, while interpreting is an oral form of translation. Many experts believe that interpreter is one of the world's oldest professions. The early occurrence of interpreting could be sign of language interpreting. Interpreting has four main periods in its history. The first is interpreting in the ancient times, the second is interpreting in colonial era, the third is the early conference interpreting, and the fourth is interpreting in modern era. Next is MICE or MEEC. MICE has 5 types of meetings that are meetings, exhibitions, event, conventions, and incentive. MIC is a part of and encompasses many elements of the hospitality and tourism industry. Meetings. Meetings are events where attendees primarily engage in educational sessions, discussions, and socializing. They can be formal or informal, held within or outside an organization, and may involve external services. There are 3 main categories of meetings: association meetings, corporate meetings, and the government's meetings. Exhibitions. An exhibition is where products and services are showcased with attendees primarily visiting exhibits. These events center on business-to-business relationships and serve purposes like public relations, sales, and marketing. There are 2 main categories of exhibitions that are trade showcase and consumer show. Conventions. Conventions are similar to formal meetings but are typically larger in scale. They gather people for a common purpose and are often held annually, requiring thorough planning for both and the main agenda and social activities. There are 3 main categories of conventions that are convention, congress, and conference. Incentive. Incentive is a reward system where a company pays for its employees' tours as a motivations and compensations for achieving company goals, profit, revenues, or sales. Tour can be regular trips, company activities, or event achievements. Employees can share expenses at time. Interpreter's job. Definition of interpreting is seen as a type of translation where a spoken utterance in one language is transformed into a final rendition in another language in real time. The interpreter has first to listen to speaker, understand and analyze what is being said, and resynthesize the speech in the appropriate form in the different language. Interpreters' competence such as language skill, analytical skill, listening skill, speaking skill, recalling skill, interpersonal skill, ethical behavior, cultural knowledge, and subject knowledge. There are 4 modes of interpreting. The first one is consecutive interpreting. Consecutive interpreting involves the interpreter speaking after the speaker finishes. Speakers often break their speech into segments to allow the interpreter to translate consecutively. The interpreter is visible in the meeting, and they must provide a complete rendition of the short text. Due to its complexity, consecutive interpreters may use note-taking. Because it takes time and involves pauses, it's typically used in smaller meetings. The second one is simultaneous interpreting. Simultaneous interpreting involves the interpreter speaking at the same time as the speaker. Interpreters use microphone and typically work in teams of 2. It's commonly used for large meetings or conferences. Interpreters can see speakers through a booth window and have tools like microphones, headphones, mute buttons, and volume control. Listeners wear headphones to select their preferred language. The fourth is whisper interpreting. Whisper interpreting is a type of simultaneous interpreting mainly used for small group meetings. The interpreter doesn't actually whisper but sits or stands close to listeners, translating quietly. Unlike regular simultaneous interpreting, no equipment is required because it's typically done for a small number of participants. And the last is sight interpreting. Interpreting typically involves listening and speaking, but sight interpreting adds reading to the mix. In sight interpreting, the interpreter reads a document and translates it aloud. And this can happen in various settings like business meetings or courtrooms. Sometimes interpreters may request time for clients to read and analyze the search text before delivering it orally in another language. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you for watching. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.